So a couple of years ago at AVG, we started some research and we called it digital diaries. We looked at kids as young as being born, or even before they're being born, about when their footprint starts. What we found was by the time they were 2, over 80% had a digital footprint, and it's created by a parent. You know, and parents are now very guilty of sharing team. They're the ones that create the footprint and overshare their kids' information. I mean, it's just an interesting place to be. I mean, what do you guys share about your kids?
Until I got divorced, I'd never shared anything about my children online. But then social media became a way of me keeping in contact with my children and sharing information with them and with selected family members. But I find it quite scary. I've got 4 friends who've all had babies this week. Every one of them has got a photograph of their child under 7 days old on their profile with, here's baby so-and-so. And that child's footprint there is now there forever.
What was interesting about the study when we did it was there was a significant portion actually who were pre-birth.
Yeah.
It was the sonogram.
Yeah, all my sonogram photos were on. I joined Facebook when I was 18 and had MySpace presets. So my teenage years have been spent online in some way, shape or form. So when I met my partner, had a child, for me it was just, you know, go out on a Friday night, you put your photos up. You're having a baby, put the photos up. It's just been part of the norm, and I think as much as it can be a danger, and I do worry about the girls as they get older, they're going to have their whole life, a prospective employee can Google them and their whole life will be there for them to find out what they're like.
And you've created it.
And I've created it, and I'm guilty of doing it, but equally by the time that they reach that age, it will pretty much be the norm because so many parents are doing it.
I mean, I must say, I'm much older than she is. When I was 18, there was no Facebook. When my child was born, they didn't even think about putting my photos of my child on Facebook. And to be honest with you, now sometimes I share some, photos of my child with friends or on Facebook. But I'm always weary. I mean, I'm a bit conscious about that.
It can be out of your control because you can have security measures on your profile page, but depending on then who you share things with and who you're friends with and their security measures, if you let your friends access your photos and then your friend likes or shares your photo that doesn't have those security measures, then all of a sudden something has been taken out of your control again.
Whereas parents, we actually have a different issue to our parents, is that we could sit down and go, look, okay, you had a cigarette, you tried smoking, here's the good, here's the bad. You have to make informed choices. The problem is now, before we get that interaction, there's a whole social footprint and people making comments about what your child has done or hasn't done. And that, I think, is also part of the bigger picture that we need to be aware of, is that the record's there before, as parents, we often get the chance to intervene.
Well, as I was saying, it's also challenging if your kid does something really, really well, and the local paper want to take pictures of them in a science contest or whatever, they're going to put their name, because the photo will always be attributed. So it's challenging.
Yeah,
it's very challenging.
The thing is, that sort of thing has always been there, and no matter how we look at it, things like reports in the local newspaper, news reports, public information, school results, they're all out there. The problem is, just now, it's just easier to find it.
How many parents actually turn off location services on their phones when they take a picture of their kids at home before they post it?
It's actually a good point. I've
Because
realized the school badge. I just realised that I probably have made that mistake
And
myself.
you might feel fine
Yeah.
of knowing where your child goes to school, but it's all the other children in that school, all the other parents. What you put online may affect, depending on the size of the school, another 1,000 people.
But even if they cover the badge up, the actual GPS data is stored with the picture anyway.
The idea of a digital
right.
footprint, there is no analog and digital in their world, there's just digital.
That's
and
right.
it's like we can become dinosaurs very quickly, but because even the technology is evolving so fast, I mean, Samsung have got phones or Netgears that will take pictures, and you can, we've got video cameras that are so small now they fit in pens and they're commonplace.
Oh, the wearables.
Yeah.
Wearables are coming, and We might sit here and go, I'm never going to buy my child a wearable. Of course you will.
I think it's hard to predict where it's going because we're just constantly learning that we don't know what it's going to be like for our children when they're 20 with their digital footprint because we haven't lived this before.